Hi, my name is Brian, and in this video, we're gonna make a hat rack. The first thing I need to do is cut out these paper templates. This is one option. I have these templates available with the plans. You could also measure and mark your own, but I kind of like this paper template idea because it lays everything out for you perfectly. Once the paper is on there, I go to the drill press with a 1/2-inch drill bit, and I drill right where those holes show. And there's a nice little plus mark where you need to drill, and therefore you can get those exactly where you want them. Once those holes are drilled, you need to connect the hole to the outside with a cut. There are two methods I tried. One is with the miter gauge and the table saw, but you have to watch because the saw blade cuts further underneath the piece than it does on top, and therefore I prefer the bandsaw method. It leaves a little rougher surface, you can see here, but I still prefer it because there's less likelihood that you ruin the work you've done thus far. Regardless, there's a little bit of cleanup that I did with some files and rasps and sandpaper. This piece is going to get cut up into a 36-inch long by 3-inch wide by 1-ish inch thick piece. And then the template goes on and we will figure the rest of this out. I have a template. I have some nice pieces of beech here. I really like these with the heartwood and the sapwood. It gets me excited for a project when I get to use this lumber that I've harvested from the local area from something that already came down. So this beech tree was down because of beech bark disease, and it shows some signs of that. Those signs kind of make it one of a kind, you know, and this was just a small tree. I actually milled it with my smaller saw and the small log mill. I ended up getting like 10-inch maximum boards out of it. This is not material that anyone would mill. It's not like I got much yield out of it, but I did get some really cool pieces. What I need to do next here is take one of these, drop this template on, and I'm going to trace the template and then leave the lines, so cut just inside the lines so that those still exist, leaving just a little bit of material to route with this bit, which is a flush trim bit. So it's got a bearing on the top that'll ride on the template, and then 1 inch worth of cutting surface. For this part, I want to remove a little less material than when I was making the template, so I switched to a 7/16 inch drill bit, which is just a 16th inch under a half. You can see I then make the same connections, but I really have to take some care to stay inside my lines this time. I tried the table saw method here, but that's about as far as you can cut without hitting on the underside, so then you have to finish that cut with a bandsaw or a jigsaw, and I think this part is better done just on a bandsaw or with a jigsaw. And hey, you want to see how not to do this? That's how not to do this. The problem I was having is I was trying to use this flush trim bit that I have used extensively, and I recently cut through some small trim nails on purpose to get rid of this trim piece, and I really shouldn't have used this thing. It worked, but just barely, and you can even see by this ridiculous stance I've got going on, I'm just waiting for this thing to be thrown back at me. I did find a way to make it work if I took kind of small bites and moved quickly on the last pass, but this was just dumb. Get a sharp bit. It doesn't take much. Now I've got an 1/8 inch roundover bit on here, and I'm going to do all the edges just to clean up the look a bit. Now I need to make some connector pieces, and these have to be 5/8 of an inch thick based on how deep the grooves go for the hats. They are going to be 7 inches long by 3 inches wide, and then that 5/8 number is important so that it fits perfectly. I've got a dry fit hat rack. All the machining is done. Now I'm gonna take this back apart. It's just in clamps right now. I take it apart, I'm gonna sand all the pieces, and then joinery method. I'm gonna use dominoes, you could use dowels, you could use screws. You need to join them together if you're gonna do a 2-piece unit. Now this could be a standalone. With the way we did this, you could make this any size. You could make it more than 2 of these wide. It really can adapt to fit your space. To properly align and glue this unit up, I'm going to use some dominoes, like I mentioned. You can use any joinery method that suits you for this. Now, this domino almost has too much depth on the minimum depth setting for the 5/8 inch material, but it does work, and it does the job to align and glue up this unit. For actually gluing this thing up, I do have a couple tips to share. You want to get a fair amount of glue so that there's proper adherence, but you do want to watch out for squeeze out. Anywhere where you have interior corners and they're squeezed together like this, you get squeeze out. And so I have an old chisel and a wet rag that I use to clean things up pretty thoroughly as I assemble this unit. It's going to help me later to not have to sand interior corners. And you can see I just got a little bit of glue that I have to clean up before finish. The hat rack is all done and loaded up with hats. I'm offering plans for this project for just a few bucks on my website, conefurnishings.com. You can grab the plans and have every detail that you need to know, along with some actual size paper templates that you can put on the piece if you choose to go that route. I also have instructions if you do want to do all the measurements and not use the paper templates. And you can make a hat rack like this for yourself. Thanks so much for being here and watching this video of me making this hat rack. It means a lot to be able to make these videos and have people watch. Please let me know what you think. Let me know if you're thinking of building something like this. I'd love to chat about it. Thanks again, and have a good one.